You might think a remote is small, but losing it was just the start of his biggest mistake.
The remote was warm in my hand. Not hot, just warm enough to remind me that it belonged there. I had been holding it for nearly an hour, flipping between the evening news and an old cooking show that reminded me of my mother's kitchen. The armchair creaked softly under my weight. The same green velvet chair I'd bought 15 years ago with my first Social Security check, back when silence was still something I owned. The house smelled like peaches and cinnamon. The cobbler was cooling on the counter, its edges bubbling slightly, filling the air with that warm, forgiving sweetness that made you believe things could still be fixed. Outside, the streetlights flickered on one by one, and the world felt paused, like it was holding its breath along with me. This was my hour. My joints ached less in the evenings. My mind slowed down. No one needed anything from me. No questions, no explanations, no adjustments. Then the front door slammed. The sound tore through the house like a crack of thunder. I didn't turn my head. I didn't need to. After 4 years, I knew the weight of that door, the force behind it, and the person who never bothered to close it gently. Derek. His footsteps were heavy and unhurried, the walk of someone who believed the floor beneath him was permanent. He didn't greet me. He never did. Instead, he walked straight into my line of sight and stopped directly in front of the television, blocking the screen with his broad back. I waited. Sometimes, if you waited long enough, people remembered manners. Derek snorted. Still watching this garbage? He said, tugging at the collar of his shirt. I've got the game on. Before I could speak, his hand darted forward. Click! The screen went black. The silence that followed wasn't peaceful. It was sharp, like the sound after a gunshot, when your ears ring and your body hasn't caught up with what just happened. I'll go to your room, old woman, Derek said casually, already reaching for a soda from the coffee table. The living room is mine now, old woman. The words didn't sting the way insults usually do. They landed heavy, final, as if something had been officially decided. I looked past him. My daughter Lena stood in the kitchen doorway, plastic shopping bags dangling from her fingers. Her shoulders were curved inward, her eyes lowered, like a child caught between parents during a fight. She didn't look at Derek. She didn't look at me. She looked at the floor. I searched her face for something. Anything. A raised eyebrow, a sharp inhale, one sentence. Don't speak to my mother like that. It never came. Instead, she shifted the bags in her hands, pretending one was tearing. That small, deliberate distraction hurt more than the shouting ever could. I felt it then. Not anger, not shame, clarity. 35 years working at the county recorder's office had taught me something simple. Noise doesn't change reality. Paper does. I placed the remote gently on the arm of the chair, and stood. My knees cracked in the quiet room, the sound loud enough to draw Derek's attention, for half a second. He glanced over his shoulder, smirked, and took a long sip of soda. Don't stay up too late, he added. Wouldn't want you confused in the morning. I didn't respond. I didn't need to. I walked past him without a word, down the hallway that still smelled faintly of lemon polish, and into my bedroom. The door closed behind me with a soft, polite click, the kind I'd always used. Inside, the room felt smaller than it used to. I crossed to the dresser and knelt slowly, carefully, as if my body already knew this moment mattered. From the bottom drawer beneath folded sweaters and an old scarf, I pulled out a leather pouch, stiff, worn and familiar, bank business. Inside it was a blue folder, held together with a fading elastic band. I opened it. The deed lay on top, yellowed at the edges. Official seals intact. My name typed neatly across the page. Owner, Celeste M. Iverson, not joint, not shared, not conditional, mine. I traced the letters with my finger, feeling something settle inside my chest, something solid and unmovable. In the mirror, an elderly woman stared back at me. Gray hair cropped short, glasses hanging from a chain. Soft clothes, harmless, harmless. That was the part they misunderstood. I returned the folder to the pouch and slipped it into my purse. Then I picked up my keys from the nightstand, the metal cool and grounding in my palm. Back in the living room, Derek had already turned the TV back on. The volume was high. The announcer's voice filled the space like it had been invited. Lena was unpacking groceries with frantic energy, as if movement could erase what had just happened. I walked to the front door. Derek glanced over, raising his can. Taking a walk? He sneered. Taking a walk? He sneered. Try not to get lost. I turned the deadbolt. For a moment I looked around the house, my house. The rug I vacuumed every Saturday. the framed river print I'd chosen myself. The walls that had listened to decades of my life. Then I opened the door and stepped outside. The air was cool, clean. I locked the gate behind me. As I walked down the driveway, something strange happened. I felt lighter, not sad, not scared, focused. I hailed a cab at the corner. "Where to?" the driver asked. I met my own eyes in the reflection of the window. "Downtown," I said, "the Grand Hyatt." As the car pulled away, I didn't look back. Because some things, once taken, are never returned. And some clicks echo longer than anyone expects. The hotel room was quiet in a way my house hadn't been for years. Not empty. Intentional? Woo, intentional. The curtains were half drawn, letting the city lights smear themselves across the walls like oil paint. The bed was smooth, untouched. I placed my purse on the desk, set my keys beside it, and stood still for a moment, listening to the silence respond to me. And no television blaring. No footsteps pacing. No voice reminding me where I belonged. I ordered soup, something light, something deliberate. While I waited, I turned on the TV and adjusted the volume exactly where I liked it. Not loud, not apologetic. Just right. When the food arrived, I ate slowly, tasting every spoonful. See, and this wasn't indulgence. It was restoration. Then I made the call. Andrew V. Sterling answered on the third ring. "It's Celeste," he said, his voice sharpening with surprise. "It's late." "It is," I replied, looking out at the street far below. "But tomorrow will be earlier if we don't act tonight." A pause. Paper rustled on his end. "What happened?" "He took the remote from my hands," I said, and told me the living room was his. Silence again, but this time it carried weight. "And the house?" Andrew asked carefully. Still mine. Still mine. Then you need the law," he said, and not patience. "And not patience. I'm done with patience." That earned a soft breath of approval. "All right. No lease, correct?" "None. 4 years, gratuitous use." "Then we issue a notice to quit. 30 days, personal service. I want it served in the morning. Done. I'll send Roman." I smiled for the first time that night. Morning came without heaviness. I slept deeply, like someone who had finally placed something down. When I woke, I showered, dressed carefully, and tied my shoes with steady hands. Same clothes as yesterday. Different posture. At 9:15, I was sitting in Andrew's reception area, coffee cooling beside me. Through the glass wall, I watched Roman Cruz review the documents one last time. Tall, calm, impeccably dressed, he looked like inevitability. At 9:30, my phone vibrated. Lena. I let it ring. At 9:32, Roman stood. "I'm heading out." I nodded. "Be clear. I always am." He left. I waited. Back at the house, Derek was pacing. He hadn't slept well. The internet was lagging. Again, the cable box blinked. His phone buzzed with messages he wasn't ready to answer. He muttered to himself, rubbing his temples. "This woman," he snarled. Storms out like a child. The doorbell rang. He ignored it. It rang again. Lena wiped her hands on a towel and frowned. "Are we expecting someone?" Derek stomped to the door and yanked it open. Roman stood on the step, briefcase in hand, expression neutral. "Mr. Derek Everson?" Roman asked. "Who's asking?" "Lean here to serve legal notice on behalf of Celeste M. Everson, property owner." The words landed wrong, like stepping on a loose stair. "What?" Derek laughed sharply. "This is a joke." Roman didn't smile. He handed over the envelope. A 30 days notice to vacate, no lease, no tenancy agreement. Service effective immediately. Lena stepped forward pale. "You can't. This is our home." Roman met her eyes. "It is not." Derek's face darkened. "Get off my property." Roman didn't move. "I already have." He turned and walked away. My phone rang as I stirred sugar into my coffee. Mama?" "Meh." Lena's voice cracked. "There's a man here, with papers." Derek is furious. "What did you do?" "You restored order," I said calmly. "You can't evict us." "I can," I replied. "And I am. You're ruining everything." I waited for her to finish shouting. When she didn't, I spoke again. "Read the notice." Carefully, I ended the call. Andrew raised an eyebrow. "A daughter?" "Yes." "You're calm. I'm accurate." By noon the house felt different. The television stayed off. Derek sat rigid on the couch, reading the notice again and again as if repetition might dissolve. Lena hovered, making calls, whispering explanations, smoothing edges that no longer bent. At 1 o'clock, the internet dropped. At 1:15, the cable followed. At 1:30, Derek slammed his phone down. "What the hell is happening?" he roared. Lena stared at the blank screen. The service is suspended." Derek's gaze snapped to her. "Call your mother." She did. I didn't answer. I was at the mall. Not browsing, selecting. A sales consultant named Jenna brought me trousers with clean lines, a crisp blouse, and a blazer that fit my shoulders like it had been waiting. In the mirror, I looked, present, not soft, not invisible. I folded my old clothes neatly and handed them over. Donate these. I walked out dressed like someone who expected to be listened to. At the butcher's counter, Derek's card declined. Once, twice. The cashier cleared her throat. I'm sorry, sir. Derek's face flushed red. Lena checked her phone. A message from the bank glowed on the screen. Transaction declined. Supplementary card suspended. Her hands trembled. Mama froze the card, she whispered. Derek exploded. I was eating risotto when my phone vibrated. Unknown number, I answered. Turn it back on, Derek demanded. The internet. The card. Everything. No, I said. You can't do this. I can. This is abuse. No, I replied evenly. This is accounting. I ended the call and finished my meal. By evening the house was loud with panic. By nightfall, it was quiet with fear. I returned to the hotel, took off my shoes, and placed my keys on the nightstand. They sounded different now. Decisive. The phone rang once more. Reception. Your daughter is here. I smiled slightly. Tell her I'll be down. The Grand Hyatt lobby smelled like polished wood and restraint. Lena stood near the leather armchairs, pacing in a tight circle. Her blouse was wrinkled, her hair pulled back too tightly, as if she'd tried to gather herself and failed. When she saw me step out of the elevator, she froze. For a moment, she didn't recognize me. I wasn't wearing my house shoes. I wasn't carrying grocery bags. I wasn't apologizing with my posture. I walked toward her calmly, the soft tap of my shoes echoing across the marble floor. Mama, she said, relief rushing into her voice. Thank God. We need to talk. We will, I replied. Sit down. The word wasn't harsh. It didn't need to be. She sat. I remained standing. What is all this? She asked, gesturing helplessly. The internet is gone. The TV. My card doesn't work. Derek is losing his mind. This is too far. This is too far. I tilted my head slightly. Too far from what? From family, she said quickly. From love. I nodded. Then let's talk about love. She looked away. You let him speak to me like that, I continued, in my own house. He didn't mean it, she said. He was stressed. He meant it, I corrected gently. People always do. She swallowed. You didn't say anything, I added. And not one word. Her hands twisted together. I didn't want to make it worse. You made it permanent. The words landed heavily between us. She looked up sharply. Are you really throwing us out? I am restoring my home, I replied. You are welcome in my life. You are not entitled to my silence. Her eyes filled. You're humiliating us. Humiliation is being told to go to your room like a child. I said quietly. This is consequence. She shook her head. He said if we lose the house, he'll leave me. I leaned forward, lowering my voice. If your marriage survives only because I provide shelter and money, then it isn't a marriage. It's leverage. She flinched. You've changed, she whispered. No, I said. I've stopped disappearing. Her phone buzzed. Derek, she ignored it. For the first time. She ignored it for the first time. I watched that small act with interest. When do we have to leave? She asked. 30 days, I replied. You'll meet me and my attorney tomorrow at 10. Both of you, she exhaled shakily. He won't like that. That's not my concern. She nodded slowly, defeated. Can you at least turn the internet back on? She asked. Just until then? I smiled faintly. No. She stood abruptly. You're cruel. I met her gaze. I am clear. She left without another word. That night I slept peacefully. In the morning I received Andrew's email. Corporate counsel has been notified. Derek is panicking. Negotiations scheduled. I closed my laptop. The wheel was turning now. Back at the house, Derek was unraveling. Without internet, he couldn't work. Without cable, he paced. Without the card, he counted change like a stranger in his own kitchen. Lena sat silently at the table, watching him burn through his confidence. This is your fault, he snapped. She didn't answer. That silence frightened him more than any argument. At 10 o'clock sharp, the office conference room filled. Andrew, Roman, Derek, Lena, and me. Derek tried to dominate the space immediately. This is outrageous, he barked. We're family. Andrew folded his hands. Family doesn't negate ownership. The house was understood to be ours. I finally spoke. Understanding isn't a contract. The room went quiet. Roman slid documents across the table. Utility records, payment histories, transfer logs. 4 years, Andrew said. No rent, no lease, no contribution. Derek's jaw tightened. And these, I added, are gifts, not obligations. Lena stared at the papers. You paid for everything? She whispered. Yes, I said, and I'm done. Derek stood abruptly. You can't just cut us off. I met his eyes. You cut me off first. A silence, real silence. Andrew cleared his throat. You have options. You have options. Huh. Vacate peacefully within 30 days. Or contest ownership and lose. Derek looked around the room searching for support. He found none. Lena's hands trembled. I didn't know, she said softly. You didn't ask. I replied. Outside, Lena caught up to me. Oh mama, she said, I'm scared. I stopped. I know, I said. But fear isn't the enemy. Dependency is. She nodded slowly. I watched her walk away. Not broken, but awake at a house knows when it is no longer ruled by fear. I felt it the moment I stepped back inside. The air was lighter. The walls no longer seemed to brace themselves. Even the floorboards sounded different under my feet, less cautious, as if they finally understood they wouldn't be punished for creaking. It was noon. Sunlight streamed through the living room windows, illuminating dust motes that had been there for years, but never dared to float freely. The television was off, not because someone had ordered it off,